All right, let's dive deep today into self-made millions. We're breaking down Leila Hormozi's YouTube video. You know the one, How I Brainwashed Myself to Be Rich?
Oh, yeah, I saw that one.
So we got your notes and some thoughts on how she frames wealth, less about luck and more like actively shaping your mindset.
It's fascinating how she uses that word brainwash. It's provocative, right?
Definitely grabs your attention.
But it really highlights her belief that achieving wealth, it takes like a rewiring, a deliberate rewiring of your thoughts and actions.
For sure, and she jumps right in with a pretty controversial principle: ignore advice from broke people.
Oh, that one's going to spark some debate.
Yeah.
On the one hand, it's easy to see how someone who's never built significant wealth, right? They might not have the best roadmap for you, their experiences, their perspectives, shaped by a different financial reality.
She even talks about outgrowing mentors, realizing that sometimes their financial ceiling becomes your limiting belief. She actually ditched a mentor who questioned her ambition. Have you ever experienced that kind of financial mismatch in a mentor relationship?
Absolutely, yeah. Early in my career, I had a mentor, incredibly successful in their field, but very risk-averse financially. So their advice always reflected that, encouraging me to play it safe, prioritize stability over growth. It wasn't until I started connecting with mentors who had, a different approach to wealth creation that my perspective really shifted.
Leila actually suggests that sometimes staying broke might be better for the people around you because it maintains that status quo.
It's a bold statement.
It is, for sure.
It's a bit jarring when you first hear it,
Yeah.
but it does make you think about, okay, what happens in those relationships when your financial trajectory changes? How do people react when you start to, surpass them financially?
Yeah, interesting.
It can definitely create tension. And sometimes those relationships need to evolve as you grow.
Speaking of growth, Leila's second principle is all about the pace of wealth creation. Money loves speed, wealth loves time.
I like that.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
So she makes this interesting distinction between making money quickly through hustle and action versus building lasting wealth,
Right.
which requires patience and long-term thinking.
It's like sprinting versus running a marathon, right?
Both require effort and skill, but the approach is completely different.
Totally.
And she gives this cautionary tale of a friend who blew through $9 million in just 4 years because he applied that get-rich-quick mindset to long-term investing.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That's a stark reminder that building wealth isn't about chasing the latest fad or trying to time the market. It's about making smart, strategic decisions that compound over time. Have you ever felt that pressure to make a quick buck, even when it went against your gut, about the long-term viability of an investment?
Oh, definitely. Early on, I was tempted by a few opportunities that promised those fast returns. Luckily, I had a mentor who encouraged me to take a step back and just ask, is this sustainable? Is this a sustainable way to build wealth? Or am I just chasing a quick win?
That question has helped me avoid some potentially disastrous decisions.
It's so important to have that long-term perspective.
Okay, this next principle really surprised me. Money goes where attention flows.
Okay.
You'd think someone who'd achieve financial success, right, would be all about penny pinching. But Leila actually argues that obsessive focus on frugality can be a limiting belief.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So she's saying it's not that saving money isn't important, but if your attention is constantly on what you don't have, it can be hard to see and seize those opportunities that generate real wealth.
She uses this brilliant analogy. She's like, trying to save your way to wealth. It's like running a marathon backwards.
Yeah.
You might finish, but you're definitely not going to win. So how can someone audit their time and attention to make sure they're really aligned with their financial goals?
It starts with being brutally honest with yourself about where your energy's going. Are you spending hours researching the cheapest grocery deals while neglecting to network? Or, upskill in your field?
Right.
Are you constantly distracted by social media or the news instead of focusing on, income-generating activities? Once you identify those time wasters, you can start redirecting your attention to actions that actually move the needle financially.
That's a really practical takeaway. Now, here's a principle that seems counterintuitive at first. Frugality drives innovation.
Okay.
You'd think a multimillionaire wouldn't stress about being frugal, but Leila actually sees it as a key ingredient for creativity. Yeah. So how does she explain that?
Well, she tells this fascinating story about getting hit with an $870,000 legal bill for a solution that was overly complicated and ultimately useless. That experience forced her to find a simpler, more effective approach, and it taught her a valuable lesson about assuming that the most expensive option is always the best. Right, because sometimes you think if you just throw enough money at a problem, it'll magically go away.
Exactly.
But often that's not the case.
It sounds like she's saying that sometimes. Constraints can actually lead to breakthroughs when you're forced to work within limitations. You have to get more resourceful, more creative.
Absolutely, yeah. I've seen this happen so many times in my own work. Sometimes when you have unlimited resources or a blank check, you overthink things and you create these solutions that are unnecessarily complex.
Right.
But when you're forced to operate within constraints, whether it's a tight budget or a limited time frame, it forces you to prioritize, to really get to the core of the problem, and to find these innovative workarounds.
That's a great reminder that frugality isn't just about saving money. It's about making smart, strategic decisions and finding the most effective solution, regardless of cost. Now, before we move on to the next principle, do you have any personal experiences with frugality driving innovation in your own life? Or have you ever seen this happen in, like, a business setting?
Yeah, I can definitely think of a time when a limited budget actually pushed our team to be more creative. We were working on a marketing campaign for a new product launch, and because of some unforeseen circumstances, our budget got slashed right before launch. We had to completely rethink our strategy, and in the process, we came up with some unconventional ideas that ended up being way more effective than our original, more expensive plan.
I love that. It's a great example of how limitations can breed innovation.
Yeah.
Okay, on to principle 5, which is all about the importance of having that financial safety net. Leila calls it the Oshtit Fund, which is pretty blunt, but hey, it gets the point across.
Yeah, I think her choice of words is deliberate. She wants to shake people out of complacency and get them thinking about the importance of having that financial cushion, not just for emergencies, but also to enable them to take bigger risks in their business or career.
It's like that saying, you need money to make money. But she also emphasizes that it's not about being reckless or impulsive with your spending. It's about having the security to make calculated risks without being paralyzed by fear.
Exactly. She found that both she and the CEOs she works with make better decisions when they know their personal finances are secure. It frees them from that fear-based decision-making that can often hold people back from pursuing those big opportunities.
Have you ever experienced that? Has having a financial cushion ever emboldened you to take a risk that you might not have otherwise taken?
Oh, absolutely. A few years ago, I was offered a chance to join this startup. It had incredible potential, but also a lot of uncertainty. And knowing that I had that solid financial foundation really gave me the confidence to make the leap, even though it meant leaving a stable, well-paying job.
That's a great example of how that safety net can open up possibilities. And it leads nicely into Leila's next principle, never rush money decisions. She talks about how she lost millions early in her career because she got caught up in the fear of missing out and made some, impulsive decisions.
It's a good reminder that emotions can play a huge role in financial decision-making, and often not in a good way.
Right. When we're feeling pressured or excited or fearful, we're more likely to make choices that aren't really aligned with our long-term goals.
Yeah.
She contrasts this with the approach of investors like, Warren Buffett, who are known for their deliberate, patient decision-making.
It's about taking the time to think things through, to weigh the potential risks and rewards, and to make those decisions based on logic and strategy rather than just pure emotion. Have you ever found yourself getting swept up in the hype of like a new investment opportunity, only to later regret not taking more time to really do your due diligence?
Oh, for sure, especially in today's world. Yeah. With social media and the 24-hour news cycle, you're constantly being bombarded with information. It's so easy to get caught up in that excitement and make those impulsive decisions. I've learned the hard way that it's always better to err on the side of caution. Take the time to fully understand an investment before jumping in.
It's about playing the long game, not chasing those short-term gains. Which brings us to one of Leila's most thought-provoking principles. Money is a game. Interesting.
This one really resonated with me because it reframes that whole concept of wealth creation and it makes it feel less intimidating.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because it takes away that sense of, am I worthy?
Yeah.
It's not about being worthy. It's about understanding the rules and playing strategically.
Right.
She shares this anecdote about meeting someone at a mastermind who was making 40 times what she was, despite seeming less intelligent or hardworking.
Wow.
And it was this real wake-up call for her, realizing that it wasn't about being the smartest or the most talented. It was about understanding the underlying principles of the money game.
So what are some of the rules of the game that she highlights?
Well, she talks about the importance of leverage, both financial and human leverage. She emphasizes building assets that generate income, rather than just trading your time for money. And she stresses the need to constantly be learning and adapting because those rules of the game, they're always evolving.
It's about being a student of the game,
Yeah.
right? Understanding the trends and making those strategic moves. That will give you an advantage. Now, this next principle builds on that idea of money as a tool. Money is a tool.
Okay.
Leila emphasizes that money is only valuable when it's used to create something else. It's not the end goal, but a means to an end.
So she's challenging us to ask ourselves,
Oh, yeah.
what are we building with our money? Is it generating more value, more opportunities, more impact?
So it's not about hoarding wealth or chasing those status symbols. It's about using money as a catalyst for growth, innovation, and positive change.
I think this principle is particularly relevant today, as more and more people are seeking purpose and meaning in their work and their lives. It's not just about accumulating wealth for its own sake, but about using that wealth to make a difference in the world.
She also makes this insightful point about how our spending habits can actually reflect our values and priorities.
Interesting.
Yeah, are we buying things that align with our long-term vision, or are we just chasing those fleeting moments of satisfaction?
It's about being mindful of our consumption and making choices that really support our goals and aspirations, rather than just, indulging in those impulse purchases.
Now, speaking of mindful choices, Leila's next principle is all about tracking your progress. The more you measure, the more you make.
Okay.
She's a big believer in tracking financial metrics, not just income, but also net worth, assets, liabilities.
It might seem tedious to some, but she argues that it's crucial for really understanding your financial health and identifying areas for improvement. She even cites studies showing that people in businesses who consistently track their finances, they tend to experience significantly higher growth than those who don't.
What gets measured gets managed,
Yeah.
right? But sometimes it can feel overwhelming. Like, what's a simple, actionable way for someone to start tracking their finances if they've never done it before?
Start small. You don't need to track every single penny right away. Just choose one or two key metrics, like your income and expenses, and start tracking them consistently for a month. You could use a simple spreadsheet, a budgeting app, or even just a notebook. The important thing is to create that habit of awareness. Once you start tracking, you'll be surprised by the insights you gain.
You might even discover some hidden spending patterns that you weren't even aware of. And that awareness can be empowering, right? It allows you to make more informed decisions about where your money is going and how you can optimize your spending to
Yeah.
better achieve your goals.
Exactly. And as you become more comfortable with tracking, you can gradually expand the metrics you track and really delve deeper into understanding your overall financial picture.
Are on to Leila's final principle, which is a great reminder for all of us, especially in, consumer-driven society. Buy for now and later.
Okay.
She stresses the importance of long-term thinking. In every purchase, are you buying liabilities that drain your resources or assets that appreciate over time?
This principle really highlights the importance of understanding the difference between assets and liabilities.
Yeah.
Assets are things that put money in your pocket, like investments, rental properties, or a business that generates income. Liabilities, on the other hand, take money out of your pocket, like car loans, student loans, credit card debt.
And that the goal is to increase your assets
Yeah,
while decreasing your liabilities,
Hmm.
which ultimately grows your net worth.
precisely. And tracking these numbers over time can reveal so much about your financial habits. For example, you might discover that you're spending a significant portion of your income on things that quickly depreciate in value, like, new clothes or gadgets, or you might realize that a large chunk of your income is going towards servicing debt.
And those insights can then inform your financial decisions.
Absolutely.
You might decide to prioritize paying down debt. Or you might shift your spending habits to focus on experiences or investments that will bring you more lasting value.
It's about aligning your spending with your long-term goals and values. And as you start tracking your net worth, you'll likely find that it motivates you to make more conscious choices about how you're using your money.
It's like watching your savings grow or your debt shrink. It can be incredibly satisfying and empowering to see those numbers moving in the right direction.
Exactly. It creates that positive feedback loop. The more you track your progress, the more motivated you become to keep making progress. And that momentum can be incredibly powerful.
Leila also emphasizes the importance of focusing on revenue generation rather than just cost cutting.
Right.
It's not that saving money isn't important, but she argues that your primary focus should be on increasing your income.
I think this is where her entrepreneurial background really shines through. She encourages people to think like business owners. Even if they're not running their own company,
Right.
it's about identifying those opportunities to generate income, whether it's through a side hustle, investing, or even just negotiating a raise at your current job.
It's about being proactive and taking control of your financial destiny, right? Rather than just waiting for things to happen.
Exactly. And it's about adopting that abundance mindset, believing that there are always opportunities out there and that you have the power to create wealth.
One of the things I appreciate about Leila's approach is that she acknowledges that building wealth is a journey, not a destination.
It's a process.
Yeah.
It's not something that happens overnight.
There will be setbacks and challenges along the way,
Yeah.
but it's important to stay focused on that long game.
She encourages people to embrace that growth mindset, to constantly be learning and adapting, and to not be afraid to make mistakes.
It's about viewing those challenges as opportunities for growth, rather than setbacks that derail your progress. Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, what's one final piece of advice you'd give to someone who's feeling inspired to take control of their finances, but isn't sure where to start?
I would say start small. Choose one principle that resonates with you and commit to implementing it for a month. It could be as simple as tracking your expenses, setting up a budget, or even just reading a book about personal finance. The important thing is to take action and start building that momentum as you start seeing results. You'll be motivated to keep going.
It's about taking that first step, right? And trusting that the journey will unfold as you go. Well, this has been a fascinating and insightful deep dive into the world of wealth building. We've explored some really powerful principles that can help anyone achieve financial success, regardless of their background or starting point.
It's been a pleasure sharing these ideas.
Now remember, money goes where attention flows. So where will you direct yours? That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. We hope you found it insightful and empowering. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving towards a life of abundance and purpose. Okay, so we've explored Leila's principles, and you shared some great insights from your own experience, but where do we go from here? How do we take all this wisdom and actually apply it to our own lives?
It can feel kind of overwhelming, right? To think about overhauling your entire financial approach.
Yeah.
I think the first step is just to reflect on your current relationship with money. Are you approaching your finances with this sense of fear, scarcity, or do you believe in your ability to create abundance?
It's like taking inventory of your financial mindset.
Yeah.
And being honest about the people you've surrounded yourself with. Are they lifting you up financially? Or are they kind of,
Holding you back. Even if you're not consciously seeking financial advice, the attitudes and beliefs of the people you spend the most time with can have a subtle but powerful impact on your own financial outlook.
It's almost like financial energy can be contagious, either positive or negative.
Yeah, for sure.
So once you've kind of taken stock of your mindset and your circle of influence, what are some concrete steps you can take to actually start implementing Leila's principles?
Well, she's a huge proponent of tracking your finances meticulously, not just your income, but also your net worth, which includes, your assets and liabilities. And understanding these key financial metrics can be incredibly empowering.
For someone who's new to tracking their net worth,
Yeah.
could you just break down what assets and liabilities are in, simple terms?
Sure, yeah. Think of assets as things that put money in your pocket. These could be investments like stocks or bonds, real estate that you own, or even a business that generates income. Liabilities, on the other hand, are things that take money out of your pocket, like car loans, student loans, or credit card debt.
Got it. So the goal is to increase your assets while decreasing your liabilities, which ultimately grows your net worth.
Exactly. And tracking these numbers over time can reveal so much about your financial habits. For example, you might discover that you're spending a big portion of your income on things that quickly depreciate in value, like new clothes or gadgets. Or you might realize that a large chunk of your income is going towards servicing debt.
And those insights can then inform your financial decisions.
Absolutely.
You might decide to prioritize paying down debt, or you might shift your spending habits to focus on experiences or investments that will bring you more lasting value.
It's about aligning your spending with your long-term goals and values. And as you start tracking your net worth, you'll likely find that it motivates you to make more conscious choices.
Yeah.
about how you're using your money.
It's like watching your savings grow or your debt shrink. It can be incredibly satisfying and empowering to see those numbers moving in the right direction.
For sure, it creates that positive feedback loop. The more you track your progress, the more motivated you become to keep making progress. And that momentum can be so powerful.
Leila also emphasizes the importance of
Yeah.
focusing on revenue generation rather than just, cost cutting.
Right.
It's not that saving money isn't important, but she argues that your primary focus should be on increasing your income.
Yeah, I think this is where her entrepreneurial background really comes in. She encourages people to think like business owners, even if they're not running their own company.
Makes sense.
It's about identifying those opportunities to generate income, whether it's through a side hustle, investing, or even just negotiating a raise at your current job.
It's about being proactive,
Yeah.
right? Taking control of your financial destiny
Yeah.
rather than just waiting for things to happen.
Absolutely. And it's about adopting that abundance mindset, believing that there are always opportunities out there and that
Yeah.
you have the power to create wealth.
One of the things I really appreciate about Leila's approach is that she acknowledges that building wealth, it's a journey, not a destination. There will be setbacks. There will be challenges along the way. But it's important to stay focused on that long game.
Yeah, she encourages people to embrace that growth mindset, constantly be learning and adapting, and not be afraid to make mistakes.
It's about viewing those challenges as opportunities for growth, rather than setbacks that just completely derail your progress. Now, before we wrap up this whole deep dive, what's one final piece of advice you would give to someone who's feeling inspired to take control of their finances, but isn't quite sure where to start?
I would say start small. Choose one principle that really resonates with you and commit to implementing it just for a month. It could be as simple as tracking your expenses, setting up a budget, or even just reading a book about personal finance. The important thing is to take action. Start building that momentum. And as you start seeing those results, you'll be motivated to keep going.
It's about taking that first step and trusting that the journey will unfold as you go. Well, this has been a fascinating and insightful deep dive into the world of wealth building. We've explored some really powerful principles that can help anyone achieve financial success, regardless of their background or starting point.
It's been great talking about this.
Yeah, and remember, everyone, money goes where attention flows. So where will you direct yours? That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. We hope you found it insightful and empowering. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving towards a life of abundance and purpose